This week on the ADG podcast, we have a great interview, a local musician from Windsor. We'll have sports review, a trailer review, and a brand new edition, first ever Today in History. All that and more on the ADG podcast.
Jacob's research is awful. Picking dodgeball players, I'm picking the kids that can throw the ball.
I just blew LeBron. I don't care what team he's in.
Okay.
No, it's okay. They did a broadcast this morning and had like one viewer. Good job, guys. That was me again.
Sure.
Did we ever see a cover of Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time? But this is the Lions we're talking about. So anything's possible. Kicker, long snapper.
Nobody else matters, right there.
Not to me. Not to me. It's top five time.
Top five.
Today. Wow. Did you really say that Miss Congeniality is better than The Blind Side? I said she dressed like a hooker. This is at a diner. Show some respect, show some class, and just don't be a bunch of dummies.
See, I think there are other better gangster movies than Scarface.
For God's sakes, look at your goddamn boots. For Christ's sakes, it's time to grow roots.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the AG podcast. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Darrin.
And we welcome you to the 7th episode of Season 2. It's going to be a good episode today, Darrin.
It should be edutainment.
Edutainment?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see where this is going.
Yeah.
So let's start this off with a bang and bring in our guest for this week. All right, so for today's music segment, guys, we're finally back with another interview in Season 2 of the ADG podcast. And we have something special. Yeah, special, because we are finally, and I just have to say that really loud, finally have a local artist on the show. Yeah, it's been a struggle. It's been a season and a half, and we finally have a local artist from Windsor, Ontario. Today, as you probably heard in our intro, Alexa Carroccia joins us today on the ADG podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So for everybody who's been listening to our show forever, we get artists from all over the world, and we are so psyched to have Alexa with us and playing her songs for us today, which we're going to play later. But first things first. I know you're 18. How long have you been playing music locally?
Playing probably about 4 years. I've been singing since I was 11, but mustered up the courage to sing like a couple years ago.
Well, that's good. Now, do you play local shows?
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to play with some pretty awesome people. A few like local bands have let me open up for them. I've done some shows around the area. It's been kind of difficult because I wasn't 18 yet, so it was, being in bars is kind of hard.
That's true. That's true. Now, the way the show kind of heard of you and know it was off the radio, because you were on the radio recently, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how is that experience having yourself on the airwaves?
It's kind of it's awesome, but it's always so weird. Like people will say, "Oh, I heard you on the radio," and I'm like, "Oh, that's that's cool." Like I never know how to react to it because it's kind of weird. But I'm super thankful. Dan's been super supportive. Dan McDonald from 93.9,
Yes.
like everyone,
Yep.
They've been so awesome with me. So I'm super grateful for that.
What does it say about the local talent in Windsor, being such a small town right next to a big city like Detroit? What does it say about the local talent and musical talent in Windsor?
Well, I think it's the support's actually amazing. When people like you guys, like when you hear about local artists, everyone's really excited because there's not like a whole bunch that happens. There's like a few artists that, are well known, but it's super cool the support that we get, especially, all the opportunities in Detroit. It's kind of rare to hear about stuff in Windsor, so it's super cool to be a part of that.
Now, what kind of genre do you throw yourself in, your style, your music?
I would probably say mainly pop, and then just like kind of hints of kind of soul and R&B, a little bit of that.
And piggybacking off of that a little bit, what are your inspiration for that sound?
Oh, that's a good question. It's so many. Like my music taste is all across the board, but I mean, growing up, I sang a lot of Adele, but I also have a love for like old rock bands. So like Ramones, the Smiths, like all of that stuff I love. So I kind of try and mix and it kind of creates this weird sound.
Hmm. You being, like Jake said, 18, so you're in that millennial wheelhouse, and I know their taste in music always evolved. So, like, what would you say sets you apart from everything else we hear on the radio?
I guess, I don't know. I've always wanted to create something that is kind of a mix. Like, I know everyone in the music industry is kind of, going towards more like kind of one direction, but I'm more, I like to mix like the music that I like to listen to. So the instrumentals are very indie sounding, and my vocals are kind of more like the soulful. So mixing those two together, I mean, I think it creates something different and something cool, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. So I just love sharing that with people.
Now, you mentioned Adele as one of your inspirations, and this is just a sidebar. Did you see her in concert last year?
No, I didn't.
No?
I wish I would have.
Oh, missed a good show. Yeah, I know. I'm geeking out here because I went, and it was really good.
Oh, that's
but,
awesome.
Yeah, it was insane. One of my top 5, definitely. Awesome. But, yeah, go ahead, Darren.
Oh no, I didn't have a question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, we know you have a single, and you gave us your single that's coming out here, and it's out already, isn't it, on Spotify?
Yes. Spotify,
Cool.
iTunes, all streaming platforms.
Perfect. Now, tell us about it. Tell us about your single that we're going to be listening to it in a minute here.
Okay, well, Camille is a song that, it was one of actually the last songs I wrote on the new album, and it was actually supposed to be written for a project involving a basketball team. And so in the beginning of the song, you can almost hear like, originally it was like a dribbling sound, but that idea didn't end up going through. So, but I still wanted to use the song for something because I had a passion for it. We just had the beat at the time, but so I took it, me and Cody, who's the engineer and producer on my album, and we kind of created this weird, I don't know, it's just like, I listen to it and it just brings back a lot of memories and things like that. So I kind of wrote it just about my life at the time. And yeah, that's Camille. And it's actually also, most of my names on my album, most of the song names are people's names. So Camille, it's actually my best friend's middle name.
Oh, there we go. And that's what we're going to listen to right now. So for the entire ADG audience, here's Camille.
You swept me off of the ground, talked me down, gave me security. Where is it now? Just like children fighting on the playground. Pick me up, daffodil, but it's nowhere to be found. Told me you love me, thought you would be more forgiving. Love me. Now those 3 words are missing. He's walking away now, smiling as you turn your face and leave. I guess it's goodbye, love. Maybe I'll just cry myself to sleep. And I just can't forget the dozen roses you left on my doorstep. You're a shining star, so damn far, but when I look up, I feel you there in my heart. Told me you love me, thought you would be more forgiving. Told me you love me. Now those 3 words are missing. He's walking away now, smiling as you turn your face and leave. I guess it's goodbye, love.
So that was Camille. And here's another question for you, Alexa.
Sure.
When is your full album or coming out?
So the full album comes out October 21st. So pretty soon.
Nice. So we have great timing on this show.
Hmm.
So October 21st. And is there a name for the album and how many tracks will be on it?
Yes. So the name for the album is Clementine, and it has 6 tracks.
Perfect. There we go. And that will be available on all streaming platforms?
Yes.
So if everybody wanted to find more information about you besides us on the A to G podcast sharing on all of our social media, where can our audience find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is my full Italian name. So it's just Alexa Carroccia spelled out. And I know that's a little difficult, but 2 R's, 2 C's.
Nice. Very good. Very good. So we will share all of that for our entire listening audience. We can't wait to hear the rest of the album. And if you want to share any more with us, if you come up with even more music, we're more than welcome to come back on the podcast. And we would love to have you on again. Again,
Awesome.
Alexa,
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your info and music with us. We love it. We love local music. Perfect start to that as being the first person on the podcast history locally to come on and share their information. We thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Darrin, that was good. Let's get into some sports.
Yes,
Do it.
sports. Obviously, well, let's talk about the NFL because that's the sport that we're always passionate about. Lions were off last week due to a bye, so
Good, they didn't lose.
they
All
didn't lose. So they continue to get healthy and prepare for their Monday night affair, a big game against the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football in Lambeau Field. So that's
do you
going to
think
be.
This is a must-win.
It,
think it's a
you know what? It's a must win. I think it's a must win for both teams, really. You know, and Lions having the bye, getting healthy, getting players back, are preparing for this game. So you have almost a full 2 weeks to prepare for the Packers. And the Packers who are limping into this game have some injuries. I know Devontae Adams with this turf toe, and multiple players on the Green Bay Packers are licking their wounds right now. But so we might be getting them at the right time. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what will happen. And but yeah, other than that, obviously next week we'll have a Lions game to dissect and take the good and bad from it, and we'll see what happens. You always gotta love when your team is on national TV and being the only game on that day.
Yes, a lot of focus on, and you know what? There's going to be a lot of focus on this team for a whole bunch of reasons this week.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually kind of excited because I'll be actually home to watch this game, and it is the Packers, so at Lambeau, and the Lions have had their number the last couple of years. So it's going to be exciting.
They have. It's going to be good. You have to like their chances going in, and obviously that defense, which will get some players back, or will just be even more scarier. So that's going to be interesting to see what Coach Patricia has in mind for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, because that whole team goes through Rodgers.
Oh,
So
it does.
if you keep him in check, and force them to run the ball, it'll bode well for the Lions possibly getting a big W on the road.
Well, Darrin, if our graphic for this week's show says enough, I think Matt Stafford has a little extra motivation this week to go out there and drop some bombs.
Oh, really? Well, can you clarify that for those who haven't seen it?
That's right. At one point this week, Darrin sent me an interesting video, which was a spoof on the Joker movie with all 4 quarterbacks in the NFC North Division.
Right.
Basically picking on Matt Stafford that he has his stats and hasn't really achieved anything. Mm-hmm. Now, I found it offensive because we're locals, we're fanboys, We're Detroit fans. We're allowed to pick on Stafford. We can call that bullshit. Anybody else? Fuck that. You can't. This is our quarterback.
You know what? It really comes down to, wow, the national media is actually talking about the Detroit Lions. You got to look at that in a positive way, good or bad. There is no bad press. When it comes down to it. So obviously they have, the spoof of the movie, and if you saw the movie like I did, Jake hasn't. I found it very entertaining. So once Jake sees it, he will appreciate it more.
So teasing that for next week.
Next week, Jake will finally see Joker.
We'll
As
have
for
a review
tonight,
on
I'll
it.
see it for the second time. So there we go.
There
Just
we
tells you how good that movie is. Anyways,
Oh,
back
boy.
to sports. So Lions were preparing for Green Bay on Monday Night Football. Should be a great game. Always good to see your team play in prime time. Over to college football, and let's talk about those red hot Michigan Wolverines, Jake.
Not red hot. They barely got through
Woo!
last week. This week they better
beating the pants off Iowa.
Yeah,
What
but
was
10
the
to
final
3.
score? 10-3.
10 to 3.
Wow, talking about taking them to the woodshed.
Well, I was watching the Michigan State game actually.
Okay, but we know what Michigan State is, and we know what Ohio State is. So at least we put
State's
up
a blunder.
At least we
Went
put
to
up
a
a little bit more
buzzsaw.
points than Michigan did.
Well, we haven't played Ohio State yet, so
Yeah,
I'm sure when
I can't
we
wait
do.
I can't wait to see Michigan play Ohio State this year. That's
Yeah.
going to be a massacre.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
But Ohio State's the best team in the entire
Ohio State.
the Ohio State University.
That's right.
Yeah, the best team out there by
There
far.
you go.
So whatever.
Michigan and Michigan State are on two separate paths, but I don't know if it's this weekend or next. I think it's next weekend they play each other. Michigan
Next
State.
weekend.
Next weekend. I think that's in Michigan this year.
Yeah.
For the Paul Bunyan Trophy, so that
So exciting.
We'll have a review for that, preview for that next week. That should be always a fun game.
Yeah, and I will not be watching that game, unfortunately.
Of course you won't. Just like
I
you
will
don't, you
not.
don't watch the NFL games because you're always at soccer.
Yeah, and guess what? This is the only weekend I don't have any.
Oh,
so I'll
that.
be watching football this week.
Look at that.
This weekend, all weekend. Thank God it's 3 days of football for me because the Lions play on Monday, so I'll be watching.
On Monday, so we are
Michigan on Saturday, whatever broadcast team on Sunday, and then
there you go.
Lions,
No, it's always good. It's always good, interesting football. The NFL is weird these days, man.
Strange, man.
The Kansas City Chiefs, like who the hell are they looking like these days? They beat the Lions, but then you lose to the Colts at home. I'm like, it's just bizarro world these days when it comes to picking winners in the NFL.
Well, chances for the Lions to get in the playoffs.
So you never know. So Lions could sneak in because the Bears look like poo-poo, that losing to the Raiders in London.
But we'll see this weekend what happens to all those teams.
See. It's going to be interesting to see. I think the real scary team, because I'm not a big believer in the Packers right now. I think they're about to come back to earth, is the Minnesota Vikings. And that's not saying a lot because they're very hot and cold, especially with Kirk Cousins. It's just overpaid and overrated. I think.
And I think we'll tackle that, and depending what happens on Monday, we might be in a strange mood on next week's podcast after this game. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really interested to see what happens, and that's gonna make a huge difference. Either the Lions will be near the top of the division, or if they lose, they're pretty much done for the season.
No. Well, they have a big string of games coming up with the divisional games, the Packers and the Vikings and the Bears. Yep. So after those, and then in these next 3 weeks, we'll tell you what this Lion team is.
But they have to win.
You have to win. You have to win because you look at it this way: divisional games are worth 2. You get the win, they get the loss.
Yeah, exactly.
So you gain right there.
Got to win.
So from the NFL to the NHL. The NHL is back in action. My Leafs, did they take it on the chin last night against
7-3, buddy. 7-3.
That's not pretty. Good thing I was at work, so I didn't have to watch that catastrophe of a game. But this is what this is bound to happen in NHL season. Some nights you're gonna get just whooped on, and I'm not saying that it's gonna happen on a regular basis. The Leafs, because they have too much scoring talent and too much talent in general to give up that many goals. And there's gonna be nights where they're gonna put up 7 goals on a team. And it's just what happens. But it's going to be an interesting way to see how they bounce back from this. Captain John Tavares, has to rally his troops and get the boys going, because they have a big game coming up Saturday, tomorrow, against the Red Wings in Detroit.
That are 3-1 and are red hot.
I know they're off to a good start. Obviously that first line is Bertuzzi, Mantha, and Larkin has been dynamite so far early on in this early hockey season. But you have to understand that it is a long season. The Wings will come down to earth, and because
they're supposed to.
And they're supposed to.
They're
I'm not saying that they can't squeeze into a wild card, because they could. Look at the St. Louis Blues last year. Was in January they were the worst team in the league. End up winning the Stanley Cup. So just get in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. That's the whole thing. So big game on Saturday night at LCA. Leafs and Wings, always a big rivalry. Always a huge turnout for Leaf fans making the way from London down to Detroit. It's always good to see the blue and white in the stands at the Wings game. So it's always a good atmosphere. From that, Jake, do you have anything else on sports wise? Unless you want to talk baseball playoffs.
Absolutely not. Don't care. I'd rather talk Pistons, but there's nothing going on there.
They're in preseason right now.
Exactly.
Does anyone care about Pistons preseason?
No, not at all. But I'm definitely going to broadcast sometime within the next month or two. I'm definitely going to go see a game at LCA. I want to see this dreadful team play and do nothing again.
MVP,
yeah.
MVP.
Well, he still has some knees, right? He's just crawling around the field.
I think they're mostly held together by
shit,
Scotch tape and Band-Aids.
I think so. But yeah, no, I want to see while the tickets are still cheap for the next 5 years, because they will never have a team. But with the interesting thing coming out is rumors and speculations what will happen to Drummond.
Yeah. Well, according to Tom Gores, the owner, he says that that's the number one priority is to keep Andre.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not helping your team. But
no, but he's not a good owner.
He's the worst. Well, not the worst, but he's just
no.
bad.
He's one of the worst. Yeah, I think the guy who owns the New York Knicks is the worst owner in sports.
That might be very true.
Yeah.
All right. So that's sports. That's good. Good shit. So let's do a top 5. I have an interesting top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Is this a special top 5 or?
No, it's an interesting top 5 because next October 24th, one of my favorite video games comes out. Since I'm a casual gamer.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare comes out October 24th.
You're one of those
gamers.
Right.
So now we don't have time next week to talk about any of this shit, or the week after, because a lot of stuff's coming up. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of movie stuff to talk about and sports and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So I figured I'd squeeze this in now because I thought it was pretty interesting. Since I am a gamer, can't wait for this game to come out. It's going to be one of the most exciting Call of Duties for me, at least, because that was my favorite franchise back then.
Until the next Call of Duty comes out.
Nah, I only buy a game a year. One game a year. So I figured I'd do my top 5 of top best-selling video games of all time.
Of all time?
Yeah, of all time.
No,
this might be interesting. This will actually go back to the histories of when you actually played video games.
There was times where on the weekends, after Friday night, I would go to the local video store. I think it was Applause Video back in the day. Rent a Sega Genesis game. Yes, I had a Sega Genesis, and I played that the whole weekend. I still have mine too. I still have some of the games that.
There you go.
It's just retro, vintage.
That's right.
Mhm.
Well, let's get into it because I have a top 5 best-selling video games of all time. We'll start off with number 5, which is currently the number 5 on this top 5 list is currently the game I'm playing,
Mhm.
and is my favorite game right now to play, and it's Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG as it's known. So it's the best battle royale game out there, as that's my opinion. So whatever.
Mhm.
And that's number 5 with over 50 million plus units sold.
Wow. Is that the Fortnite thing?
Oh no, Fortnite's a free game. This one's actually got to pay for it.
Oh,
Fortnite's for kids. PUBG's for adults. Just saying, called it.
like I know the difference.
I know. Number
Uh,
4, something Darrin will be playing one day because he's getting much older. Wii Sports.
Whoa! Wow. You know
Wii
what?
Sports.
You know what? I've never played the Wii.
Really?
Uh,
Neither have I.
yeah.
It
You
doesn't
know,
look
like
interesting to me.
it, like isn't the whole point is to, have the controller and not be active? Like
I have
like
to
like like
strongly
like
agree with
like
you on
like
that one.
make the character you control do all the work.
Yes, I see. I agree with you 110% on that. Why I don't want to buy a system where I actually have to stand up and move. I will go play sports outside if I want to do that. Why would I want to do it on my TV? That's dumb. All right, number 3, and that was at 82 million units sold for Wii Sports. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Five.
Yes, that's number 3.
Me, and I played some of these games. The best
Mhm.
ones were Vice City and
Oh, here we go.
and San Andreas.
And I've actually played both of those, and they were not bad at all. But I couldn't really
Vice
get in.
Vice City was great because it was like based off the movie Scarface, which was
Oh,
fantastic. And plus, the voice of Ray Liotta was the main character, which was amazing.
there you go. There you go. Number 2 is something I just bought for my youngest kid to play, and I had to go all the way to Michigan to find it for a system where I don't want to spend money on. So I bought it for the
Mhm.
PS3. That's what
Mhm.
he's going to be playing. Minecraft at 176 million plus units sold.
See,
I've never played it.
no, those games, like I understand that you have to be smart because you have to like dig, and you have to like build stuff, right?
Yeah, I
Buildings,
think
and
so.
you build like it's like this. You remember the game The Sims,
Yes.
where you have to build like your own little world, and you have a
Yep.
guy, and you
Exactly.
pretty much control his life.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
I'm sure it makes kids think. It gives them like, how do I, construct this, or how do I build, a boat out of like blocks, or
and exactly. And I was thinking, since my youngest is 7, I was like, do I want his friends play Fortnite? And I'm like, this kid ain't fucking playing Fortnite because that's garbage. So it
you
was
just don't
Minecraft.
understand, Dad.
Yeah, I played it. I understand. Trust me, it's garbage. So I'm like, Minecraft. Yeah, you know what? You might actually learn something. It'll challenge your brain. I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
But I'd rather him play this number 1 selling video game of all time. Something you played, something I played, something everybody's played, with 500 plus million units sold. Tetris.
Tetris, great game.
Hmm. Original release June 6th, 1984.
Wow,
Yep.
that's telling you something right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It was a few months ago. My friend Mike Evans, who listens to this podcast.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Evans. Um, his brother gave him like one of those built-in Nintendo games that had like preloaded with like 60 games on it.
Okay.
Those like mini versions of
Oh
Nintendo.
yeah. I have one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do that, and they had Tetris on there, and man, talk about a fun game, because you play with your friends, and your friends start chirping you for not like doing it right, and when there's drinking involved, it makes it even more fun. It gets very heated.
So we just got a glimpse to Darren's Saturday
That's what I
night
do.
of
That's what I do
drinking and
on
playing
Friday and
Tetris.
Saturday night. That's right. It's playing Tetris and drinking. Yeah.
Side note, on a sidebar on the Tetris thing, did you know this game was made in the by Russians? It's called
Really?
Electronica 60 gaming, yeah, gaming company out of the USSR. There you go.
There you
Some
go.
shit you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know. Speaking of gaming, it's funny that you brought up this top five list. Um, Obviously, I think me and you are on the same level. We're not as big of gamers as we used to be.
No.
But I recently finished a game that I was playing, and the thing is that, like, if I play a game that has a long campaign or a long story to complete, if you're a hardcore gamer, you finish it in like a week, 5 days, whatever.
Mhm.
But like me, I like to stretch it out because I can only play for so long before I get bored and like, okay, I need to walk away from this, uh, actually go outside. But I was playing a game called Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yes, I have. That's a while
It's,
ago.
yeah, it's been out. It was a free game on the PlayStation Network, so I'm like, okay, doesn't cost me anything, whatever. So I played it, and it was fantastic. It's one of those games where you have to kind of like pick, your own ending,
Hmm.
kind of like where you decide which way your characters are going to go, and you control three characters, and they all interconnect with one another. I think it's great. It takes place in a futuristic Detroit, so that's obviously one of the things that attracted me to this game. I'm like, I think it takes place like in the 2035 Detroit, and where androids and humans, where androids are inferior to humans, and then androids rise up and they want to be treated equal as humans and have rights and elect their own android people as politicians. I thought it was interesting. You could be nice and peaceful protest, or just be violent and just cause a riot. So it was
Not
interesting
bad.
how it is.
Not bad.
I highly recommend it. And I don't play many games, so but Detroit Become Human, if you like a nice 10-hour long campaign, that's the way to do it.
There you go. And there's not a lot of campaigns in the certain games anymore. So it's nice to
No,
see people
no.
actually playing through a complete game, which
Yeah,
is good.
like I think the one before that, the one that had a really fun campaign to do was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
That's a game so my friends still play.
It's fun.
Very good, very good. I don't have time for that one, but I saw some gameplay definitely. All right, good stuff. So let's do. We had a trailer we watched this week. We were supposed to do it last week, but it didn't come out during our taping.
Yeah.
But it's out now. So let's talk about it. As you guys saw in our show preview,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to talk about Birds of Prey.
Yes.
What do you think, Darren?
I saw this trailer. I've seen this trailer online, and then I saw it. They showed it before the Joker movie. Obviously, it makes sense. Both DC franchises doing this, and looks interesting. I don't really know too much about the whole Birds of Prey, uh, like this girl group of vigilantes, criminals, whatever you want to call them, aside from Harley Quinn, which features Margot Robbie, who reprises her role as Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad movie, which the Suicide Squad is going to be redone again. So with a new cast, I don't know if she's going to be in it again, but we'll see. But yeah, I really don't know too much about this movie. The trailer, it has its moments, but if I'm a customer looking for a good movie to check out, I would probably wait until this comes out on DVD or Netflix or one of the
VHS
streaming
tape.
VHS, uh, you know,
Oh
uh,
my god.
Laserdisc, whatever it comes out on, um, before I would go see it in a theater. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It looked awful for me. Not even close to being anything I want to see until I don't know. It's thrown in my face on Netflix in like a year and a half or something. Yeah, I'm not. I don't. It doesn't tie into anything for me. It's a standalone, so that already I don't care. Two, I don't find that character that interesting, and it's
Right.
gonna be a whole bunch of one-liners and shit exploding and crazy
Yeah.
CGI moves, and
I,
it
I,
just
I,
does not look appealing.
yeah, you know what? I can see what DC's trying to do. They're trying to capitalize on, all female cast, empowered, strong women that don't take any crap from anyone,
Yeah.
and, Harley Quinn is the ultimate bad girl, you
Hmm.
know. And so I can see, I appreciate what DC is trying to do. They're trying to fill that superhero void that Marvel left since Endgame came out. So they need more. I think like some origin stories deserve an origin story, movie I should say, but others let's just find a really great story and put it on a big screen. DC Comics has so many great stories, just like Marvel has so many great stories. DC has to find a better way to get the good stories, like the real grab you by the throat and make you pay attention kind of stories, kind of like what they did with the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yes,
Fantastic,
exactly.
fantastic
But
trilogy.
yeah, you know why those were good, right? Because they were gritty. They weren't over the top,
Exactly,
poppy,
exactly. No, no,
colorful, in your
no.
face movies like these ones
Yeah,
are.
no, and I think they're going that route more with we'll discuss it with Joker, because I think they kind of took that same format, the gritty, the darkness, with Joker, what they did with the Dark Knight trilogy, and that's along the same lines. But like this, I think they're trying to infuse a little bit more humor in it, and trying to like capture what Marvel the blueprint that Marvel did with the human the action, and the humor that goes all into you know uh, a big cast film like Birds of Prey, where you have a lot of you have your main characters, but you also have like a lot of supporting characters that kind of have their own little quiet little origin stories on how they became who they are. But if you are a Batman fan, or if you're a DC fan, or if you're a Harley Quinn fan, I'm sure you're gonna be first in line to see this.
Now, so what would you rate this 1 out of 5?
Trailer alone,
Yep.
I'm going a solid 2.5.
Wow. Okay. Well, Darren is very generous this morning, and I am not. I will give this a 1 out of 5. Looks terrible. Doesn't grab you at all. Like, oh my god, I want to see this movie because it looks like it's going to be interesting and something I can follow for almost 2 hours. So yeah, 1 out of 5. And whenever Netflix gets it, maybe then I'll watch it.
Now, if anything,
Uh,
I'm sure DC will be on their own streaming platform or service, or who knows. I'm sure Disney will buy them.
yeah, probably for sure.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that was an interesting trailer to watch anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
but you were telling me you have a new segment, so let's
I
let's introduce that.
I do have a new segment, and me and Jake, we're both big on history. We like the, monumental things that happened in the past. So I decided that every week we're gonna have a special segment called Today in History, and it could be everything from important events to film and TV to music to sports. It could be any one of that. It depends on what happens, and it's and what I think is pretty neat. I always like a good fun fact or a good history fact. Uh,
Sounds good.
yeah. So Jake,
Yeah.
today in history, well, we record the week of October 11th here.
Hmm.
Today, back in 1975, Saturday Night Live premiered on NBC, with George Carlin being its first host.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely awesome. Probably way better to watch than on this shit that's on there now. Oh yeah, the old stuff's actually really good. It's
There
funny.
you
There's
go.
there's certain casts that are really good, and the first George Carlin, come on,
Yeah.
amazing.
Legend.
Yep, legend.
Uh, And some important historical facts that happened today. Back in 1737, going way back, an earthquake kills 300,000 people and destroys half of Calcutta, India.
Well, there you go. You just made the podcast very sad.
Oh, well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that all history is happy history.
No, most of it is not.
No, it's not. So from that to some more happier segments in today in history. Jake, are you a fan of Lionel Richie?
Hello?
Yes. Is it me you're looking for?
There you go.
Well, back in 1983, Can't Slow Down, the second studio album by Lionel Richie, is released. So there you go.
Also known as one of the greatest albums of all time.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It was good. Okay, but yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's
So, well, and also the best thing about this, I found this great site that's called onthisday.com, and it's pretty much every day has great facts, famous birthdays, and if you want to know who was born today on October 11th, if anyone knows who Arthur Phillip is, he was born today. And the former First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, was born on this day.
Wow. There
you go. There you go.
Right.
So you have a little bit of everything. That's it. A little bit fun. You got important events, some film and TV, some music, and some birthdays that happened today, October 11th, the week of October 11th. So next week, it'll be a brand new edition of Today in History.
All right. I like it. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. All right. So our last segment, I think, maybe, we'll find out, for today is Garbage Person of the Week. So yeah, I'm in the States a lot. I drive a lot. And we've had this topic before about bad drivers, but my Garbage Person of the Week is someone I really don't know, but I witnessed something they did this weekend. So, coming back down I-7, what was I on? I was on 96 into Detroit, doing about 125 because, I obey traffic laws and stuff. And, just cruising. Everybody's in the truck, just making my way with the traffic. No problems. I see a silver Impala just flying in the left lane. Flying. Zooms right by me. He's got to be doing like 160, 170. Okay? Bouncing all over the place. And I'm like, this guy's going to crash because there's no way he can keep control of that car. Literally 5 seconds later, he's against the median of almost upside down. So I didn't have my dash cam on, surprisingly. Which I wish I did because we would have shared that video. But it's being turned on every time I go there now. And out of that car, because I slowed down with everybody else because there's a giant car accident, surprisingly, it didn't look like anybody was hurt at that speed. Car was destroyed, but people were like falling out of this car, like jumping out and getting out. There was at least like 6 people in there. What are you doing to go that fast with that many people in your car?
Right.
How important in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, I was like, 2, how important is it for you to drive that fast in traffic with that many people, endangering everybody? Like, I don't care about you breaking your car, hurting yourself. As long as you don't hurt anybody else. What if you ran into somebody else? What if you ran into another car? What if you ran into a van full of people? What then? It's stupidity like that only I can do is give you Garbage Person of the Week. Hopefully you're arrested. Hopefully you don't get a license ever again. But it's shit like that hurts everybody else around you. So there you go. Half rain, half Garbage Person of the Week.
There you go. Best of both worlds.
Yeah. That's just annoying.
I just
That's
wanted,
scary.
That's it. I just want to touch on one thing before we wrap up. That the Windsor International Film Festival is about to kick off towards the end of October. Um,
Yes.
a nice little short film that I had a hand with, a hand in help making is a short little documentary we did. Anyone that's been around downtown Windsor in the last 20, 30 years knows this man. He goes by the name of Feather Hat Guy.
Yeah, I saw
So,
something about
the
that. Yeah.
the trailer. So our friend of the show, Mike Evans, has been doing this. Uh, he's been filming this documentary for the last 10 years. Just would occasionally go and start filming him, and just talking about Ronnie, that aka Feather Hat Guy, about his life and how he's been in Windsor his whole life. So it got into the Windsor International Film Festival. So if you're interested, it's called I believe Finding Feather Hat Guy. So be sure to check that out. It's a great local Windsor iconic person getting its own little documentary. So it's just something that is 100% Windsor.
Very cool. Yeah, I just saw that earlier this week. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Can't wait to see that.
Yep.
Awesome. Very good. There you go. There's episode 7.
Number 7.
Kept it short and to the point this week, guys.
Yeah, I think that was our first ever under an hour episode.
I know. Well, we got into it. We got into it. We're good.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys have any comments, ideas, questions, email us at adgpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere you stream your podcast at ADG Podcast. So check even the podcast app on your cell phone will get you our podcast. You can listen to us anywhere. You can download the show. You can stream it, whatever. Check us out and like us, share, whatever else. So yeah, that's episode 7.
We're also on iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. And we also submitted to Pandora, so we'll see what that happens.
Hell yeah. All right, so for the ADG Podcast, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Darrin.
And we are
ADG.